All right, I'm going to answer a couple of your questions here. I have the PDF or the SketchUp file of the jewelry box right here. Now, if we look at it, what we're doing is we're just separating a board like this board over here into a bunch of different pieces. So we take that same board, and it's just to simplify things. And that whole board gets wrapped around this right here. Okay, so right here, this part and this part would actually be one whole part. Let's take a look at it. You go like this, you go down. So that would be the side of that board, and all we're doing is cutting this at a miter, cutting this at a miter, and cutting this at a miter. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, right? So if we look at all the sides here, we cut all those on the miter saw like that at a 45-degree angle. So all this grain continues through this whole board, just like that. So this whole grain continues, and it's one board. You just go cut, measure to 8 inches, cut a miter on one side, that 45 degrees, cut another 45 degrees. You cut another 45 degrees, cut another 45 degrees, and so on. You keep going, and this excess, this isn't cut at 45 degrees, as you can see on the sides. So side 1, the top, front, and bottom, the back and sides are all 45 and then glued together. But before you glue it all together, you have to split the fronts up. So this is one whole side of the board. You've cut that to 11 inches long, mitered on both sides to 45 or beveled. Now the top needs to get ripped on the table saw to 3 inches. The drawer front needs to be ripped to 2 inches, and that should leave you with about a bottom of 1 inch wide. And that's about it. So you'd rip these to that size and you'd be done. Okay, now when you split up the, let's see here, when you split up the drawer looks like this. I would just make it even easier. I would just make this whole part on the front one separate piece, just like that. Get rid of this right here. I'll just go right there. I would just literally brad nail this front to the sides, just like that. Now what the grooves are for, so this part right here, the grooves are so that this bottom part can slip inside there. That's what a groove for a drawer is for, so that this part can slip inside there, get glued and brad nailed together. Just make a drawer. I don't care what it looks like. Just make a drawer. So then the top part, this top part is, like you said, a little bit wider or not as wide as the whole top. When you have it made, it's going to look kind of like this right here. Okay. And now when we're talking about making all these different grooves in here, this part will be grooved out, okay, so that this can fit inside of it, okay. Now if you don't want to cut a groove on these top parts, if you don't want to do that, or a little recess, you could just fit this to it on the top. Just make this a little bigger if it's easier that way, which it is easier. It's just not as intricate, I guess. I don't know. It's not as not how it's supposed to be. Okay, so then you could just do this to make it easier. Boom, done. Just make it the size of that box. That's easy enough. Then round that over, it looks good. So that's easy. So then you have a bottom, the drawer, the top part right here. This whole lid gets cut off on the table saw. So this would be a whole solid piece. Okay, there's no lid yet. We haven't made it. We have to make it by cutting it off on the table saw. So this would be one whole solid piece. This would be solid together. Literally just one board. Okay, then you're just going to take this side of on the table saw and just make 4 cuts. Make one cut here, one cut over here, and you're just cutting this top off to whatever size you want it to be. That's how you get that cut. Now let's see what your other questions were real quick. Parts of the jewelry box. If the front parts are beveled, do the sides need to be beveled? Yes, because we're gluing these together with Scotch tape. Somebody might have done it before. You put Scotch tape, or painter's tape, and you kind of roll this up. There's videos on how to glue bevels together. The top is the top 10 or 10.5 inches wide. I would just make it whatever width your box is. So if we look at this right here, if we look at the width of the box, I would just make your top that width, 11. Okay. If top is need to bevel all boards? Yes, you do. That's why it shows you to bevel them, because they need to be glued together and make a nice miter. The top front, do the chest sides and back need to have grooves cut in them for the bottom? They don't need to, but it looks better if they do. Okay, so that part would get your bottom, or you can just fasten it to the bottom. It doesn't matter. So usually these get a nice groove on the sides, and you slip the bottom in, just like when we did our nightstand in Advanced Woods. What is the 1/4 or 3/16 notch for? That's just the bottom of the front. There's like a little recess on the bottom. Doesn't need to happen. It's just there. What is this supposed to tell them to cut grooves in the chest, back, and sides? Need to show where. Are the grooves the same dimension of the groove? The grooves need to fit that hardboard. If we don't have hardboard, then just use some plywood or something upstairs and just fasten it to it. That's all you got to really do is just make a drawer. So when we look at that drawer here, you just got to make a drawer fit inside there. That's all you need to do. Just think of it like that. Make a drawer, put it inside. What the grooves are for the top part is so that we have a bottom here when we open up that top lid. That top lid opens, we have the bottom here going into all the sides and so on. Yeah, I think that kind of covers most of it, but yeah, it's not that it's as easy as looking at what it looks like and just trying to fit it together and make it work. Whatever it takes to get it to look somewhat like that, I'm totally okay with. Okay, it should be, you just look at it and start making. Okay.